Now, if God is the one who uses even bones to draw us back into relationship, into trust, into love, if God's role is to bring aliveness where we were dry and hollowed out, if that's God's role, then what's our role? A relationship has two sides. And so God's part of the relationship here is to bring life, maybe not always the way we want it or we envision it, but in ways that remind us that God's God. That's God's part. And on our side of the relationship, what's our part? How can we let in this spirit of life that comes from God? What I see in Ezekiel is that the first thing is that he notices that his people are looking like dry bones. He names it. Maybe letting in the spirit of life starts for us too by noticing when we are in that valley, when we're feeling like dry bones or when we're holding on to dry bones. Maybe it starts with that noticing. When we find ourselves feeling resentment more than freedom, it might be that we are holding on to bone. When we find ourselves tired and worn thin more than we find ourselves fulfilled, it might be that we are holding on to bone. When we find ourselves focusing more on the past than the present, it might be that we are holding on to bone. And it's good news when we realize that, because if we don't realize it, it seems to me it's a lot harder to loosen our grip. Maybe it starts with that noticing. For Ezekiel, he speaks and God starts doing things, starts bringing the bones and the sinews together and covering them up with skin. It starts with Ezekiel's noticing. And then what happens next? Ezekiel looks to breath. In Hebrew, the word for breath is the same as the word for spirit. Breath calms us, it grounds us, it connects us to that Spirit of God. So we notice our grip on the bones, we breathe. And then the third thing that happens in Ezekiel's vision is that he looks for God. He looks for what God is doing. God is a God who takes bones and somehow brings life. A God who takes what's broken and gives it beauty even in the cracks. That's why in my old church we would read this story on Easter. It is a resurrection story, a story of God bringing life and love where life and love seemed impossible.